Now this week, we look at a family business born of a 40-year labour of love. The first Bakos Brothers furniture store opened in 1971 in Rissik Street in Johannesburg, South Africa. Way back then, you could still buy a three-piece suite for your living room for just 99 Rand. How was the business born? How did it grow? What was the secret to its entrepreneurial story? Now with me, I have Norman Bakos, one of the 5 Bakos brothers who risked their capital to build their business. Welcome. So just want to start off with, your family came to Africa from the Lebanon, almost by mistake.
Yeah, they left Lebanon in 1898 and came down and landed in Mozambique. Instead of going to America, they ended up in Africa, and then from there on they went over the river, across the river, the Crocodile River, and ended up in Trechard area. That's in the eastern Transvaal.
Now your father, he was an entrepreneur too.
Yeah.
Do you think he instilled anything in you that made you grow up to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, definitely. It was in his blood, and he just brought us up in the family business, in the electrical business. All of us worked there. He's been a role model to all of us, and every day that goes by, we remember him and what he would have done and what he did and so on. Definitely.
And yourself and your brothers, how humble were the humble beginnings all those years ago in Johannesburg?
They were very humble, very humble. We started in Rissik Street in 1971. We took one brother. We were all working for different furniture companies. And then we decided to go into a enterprise on our own, and we took the one brother out, and all the brothers still working for the other companies paid his salary every month, and at night we went to go and do the deliveries for that company. We hired a truck and we went to go and deliver. Took our ties off and we carried up furniture in all different places.
And how difficult was it to get furniture into people's places in those days?
It was very difficult. The lifts weren't as big and the furniture was still as big as well. So what we did one day is we went to Hillbrow. We needed the money and we had to get this couch into this building, which was this flat, which was in a building 12 floors up. And we decided that we got to get it in, and we hoisted it up by throwing ropes. And in the end, we lifted it up 12 floors and got it in, got our money, and was very tired after that.
I mean, it must have been quite difficult. I mean, starting the whole thing from scratch. I mean, what sort of other memories do you have?
The thing was that we worked for 5 different furniture stores, and each brother was a top salesman at the time. And the different factories realized that there were potential in us. So when we opened, they gave us furniture on consignment, and as we sold it, we paid them, and that's how we started.
And brothers together starting a business, a lot of people say that money and blood don't mix, that it must be difficult with your family.
Well, I always answer them and say that if you can't get on with your own family, then who can you get on with? My father installed in us the respect for one another. So what happens is all the brothers respect each other, and we respect the elder brother. And that's how we fight and argue and this, that, but in the end, we all get together. We have sometimes a family lunch, where if one brother's not speaking to each other, there it all irons out, and then we're back on track again.
Was there ever a time when the Bakos brothers were perhaps ready to split up as entrepreneurs?
No, never. It just never crossed our mind. Just like...
Now you were growing the business. Now, good entrepreneurs always have to think of innovations, and you were the first company to import televisions into South Africa.
We didn't import them, we sold them. In our President Street branch, we converted it at night after 5, which you weren't allowed to open after 5 in those days. And we converted our store into like a cinema, laid all the couches out together. And then we put videos on, and people came from all over. The first time they ever saw a TV was in our stores, and we sold a lot of TVs, but there was one setback. We couldn't get enough stock at the time.
And also the authorities, I mean, were they happy
Then
about
they
it?
came, they fined us for trading after hours. You know, in the early days you weren't allowed to do that. And we had to pay the fine, but people still bought the TVs.
As an entrepreneur, how tough is your business?
Well, it's not an easy business. There's a lot of opposition out there, a lot of people, but what the brothers always strive to do is to try and be ahead. So we flew overseas to all the shows, and we got different ideas, and we always had the idea of having the best. Never mind the price, we wanted to sell the best. And people went for it, and we came back to South Africa. We went to a few factories, kept it locally, supported the local factories, and made the articles here. Now with the new systems and factories, China and Italy and all of them, we got to go overseas and buy to be competitive, because the local guys are a bit expensive at this
How
stage.
cutthroat can the furniture business be?
Very cutthroat, but we never entered into that era. We just didn't worry about it. We stayed in our market, and people wanted the best, and they came to Bakos for the best.
So going just a step back, you know, when you were loading furniture up the side of buildings, how did you plan and how did you grow your business? How did you plan it out over the next 10, 15 years?
Well, as the business grew, we took one brother out of the other one of the stores, and then we opened a shop in Rissik Street. Then we opened another one in Market Street. And then we opened in Eastgate, and then we went in from the cheaper end of the trade into the better end, and then we opened in the mall of Rosebank in the 1980s. Because what was happening, we had the 76 riots, and people from the north weren't going to the city. So we had to open in the suburbs, and we opened in the mall of Rosebank, and from there on we all went to for decorating courses and just sharpened our skills, and we opened an upmarket store.
Because that's one thing, your business has come right through some of the worst political upheaval this country's ever seen. How did you get around that as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was 1976, was the Soweto riots, as I say. 1985 was the recessions, and we've been through the Rubicon speeches and all of that, but we just stayed focused. We never panicked. We stayed focused on what we're doing.
And a lot of people wouldn't have forgiven you for saying, well, I'm packing up, sorry, I'm going, that's it.
Yeah, a lot of people left the country at that stage, and we furnished them. Well, that's where it helped us, because they were leaving the country, packing for Perth, for America, Canada, Israel, all over, but we furnished their houses. We packed it and we furnished it.
And what about the finance side of your business? You must have started off with a very small amount of capital amongst yourselves. How has it been financing with the banks and what have you?
Well, you know, that's the big problem. You got to have the finance, you got to have the collateral, but with the name, we got around that and we survived all that.
How long would you say it took you to get sort of comfortable, shall we say, in your business?
Sure, about 15 years. 15 years, you could say, that it started to come right.
So it's a long
haul.
process.
It was a long haul. In the early days, it was very cutthroat because we were dealing with all the other cheaper stores and everything. But once we went into the better end, because people focused on people wanting good quality, and it started to move a little bit.
What do you think is the greatest problem you've had as an entrepreneur?
The greatest problem for us in business, I think, was the staff, employing staff. We found that very difficult.
How many do you employ at the moment?
We employ in our shops about 110, and in our factory, we just started a new factory. We've got there about 80 to 100 there, and But staff is a big problem because they work for you, they come to you, and then they're good, and then they open their own business. It's good luck to them, but it's a big problem in South Africa, staff.
And entrepreneurs in South Africa and Africa in general, I mean, you've had a long career. How do you see them? I mean, what's this new generation coming up like?
Well, it's, you know, to get to that stage, like, it's a lot of hard work. There's no easy road to the top. I keep on telling my kids and my family, there's no easy road to the top. You've got to just work in and day out, and put in the miles. That's all.
And one thing I find interesting actually is a family business, and every time you've mentioned the company, you say we this, we that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're
it's
together.
all we are together, the brothers. Whatever we do, we together.
Have you ever had to elect a leader amongst you?
Well, with the elder brother, we always have the elder brother. He's our leader.
And that's it.
That's it.
No
Simple.
dispute.
Yeah, that's it. There's no dispute about it. The elder brother is there. We'd always go for him for advice, and we'll sit down and have a meeting, and discuss a few things, and we'd come out with a decision.
We're going to talk more about other issues affecting your business in the second half. But one thing I must ask you, looking forward, so the generations of the Bakos, they're also tied in with the business as well.
Well, at this stage, you know, the brothers had a lot of daughters, and they all got married. We got a son, one of the brothers' son, Ryan. He's taken over, made him the CEO of the company, and that's where we're going from there. I've got a son still in university, and he'll come into the business later if he wants to.
So you've got a good, solid succession plan worked out for your business.
Well, if everything goes according to plan, that's it. But you never know what can happen.